Hello and welcome back to Wake Up Cricket powered by Pavilion Picks. This is your host Praatibh. I've also got Megha alongside me. We have IPL cricket, but we also have a lot of international cricket that's going on and some interesting news if you're following the PSL as well. But before we get into it, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's get right into it.
and both men's and women's international cricket. But let's get started with IPL. Tilak ends MI's losing streak with 45 ball century. Mumbai Indians needed something dramatic to scrape themselves off the bottom of the table, and Tilak Varma provided that with a record breaking 100 to lift them from 103 for 4 in 14 overs. In fact, 403 for 4 in 14 overs. The momentum MI built at the end of their innings was so irresistible, it carried into a first ball wicket for Jasprit Bumrah after he had gone 6 IPL games wicketless. And the Gujarat Titans' wickets just kept tumbling, ending MI's 4 match losing streak. It was so dramatic in the end that GT ended one short of Tilak's 101, losing by 99 runs. The 82 runs that Tilak scored in the last 6 overs is the most anyone has scored in that period of an IPL innings, resulting in the joint quickest century for MI, level with Sanat Jasurya's effort in 45 balls in the inaugural IPL season. Sensationally, Tilak did so after not having hit a boundary in his first 20 balls, making his highest IPL score after such a start. Without taking anything away from Tilak, Namandir arguably scored the tougher runs when GT bowlers were red hot, 45 for 32, 45 of 32 from number 3 when MI had slipped to 44 for 3. Tilak was offered some gifts by bowlers, failing to stick to their plans, but his response to the errors was intimidating and likely resulted in further errors.
Now, this is the most typical Mumbai Indians thing, right? They start off the season poorly almost every time they go on losing a bunch of games. And then they have a performance like this. In this case, it was Tilak Varma, who actually has been a really good bat for them in the last couple of seasons. So, no surprises that come the time, come the man, and he stepped up once again. But just what an interesting knock that was, right? At some point, I'm sure a lot of the Mumbai Indians fans, of course, were cursing Hardik Pandya, but also Tilak Varma because in the first 20 odd balls, this man had no boundary. At some point, he was 19 of 22 deliveries. And at that point, the Mumbai Indians fans would have been praying that he can at least get to a run a ball 50. But as things would turn out, he eventually tore into the opposition. And that's got to do a lot with how Tilak Varma sets up, right? I think there's also meme that we'll actually come to later, and at some point, I think there was a clear messaging from the support staff or from the team management that he has to go for it. Luckily, he did get a few full tosses as well, so he was able to take off. But even then, for the kind of execution that we saw, I think we saw about 15 of his last 23 deliveries just being fours or sixes, which is insane however you look at it. And so, if you put it into context, of course, Namandir's innings is also equally important, if not more, considering the fact that Mumbai would have very easily collapsed at that point. But these two ensured that Mumbai Indians were able to get to respectability in this Western Derby. They were able to get to 199. And then once Gujarat Titans started losing wickets, they were just never really able to build momentum, which was ultimately what the issue was. They were not able to string a partnership along at any point, which meant that they eventually ended up on the losing side.
Western Derby, fancy. Next up, Josh Inglis to join LSG before 4th May match against MI. Australia batter Josh Inglis is expected to join his IPL franchise Lucknow Super Giants ahead of the game against Mumbai Indians on May 4th. He has not been available for the first half of the season because he had planned his wedding for mid-April. He got married on April 18th and will spend a few more weeks away from action before he travels to India. Inglis scored 278 runs at a strike rate of 162.57 for Punjab Kings last season, but was released from the squad ahead of the 2026 auction, where he was brought by LSG for INR 8.6 crore despite his unavailability for part of the tournament. If Inglis is available to LSG from May 4th, he could play their last 6 games of the league stage depending on how they reject their combination. At present, LSG are playing Mitchell Marsh, Aiden Markram, and Nicholas Pooran and don't always pick a fourth overseas player. South African spinner George Linde has played two of their last three games, while Puran has been woefully out of form, scoring only 51 runs in six innings at a strike rate of 80. Fast bowler Andrik Norkia left the LSG camp last week with the reason for his departure unconfirmed. He had played only one match for them this season against Delhi Capitals on April 1st when he went wicketless for 39 runs in his four overs.
Now, again, this is an interesting piece of news, especially if you're a Lucknow Super Giants fan. You finally might have something going your way if Josh Inglis does return. Interestingly enough, it wasn't not known that he's going to be getting married around this time and he is going to be taking those few weeks off, going to be missing the start of the IPL. Also, why Punjab Kings eventually kind of parted with him, right? Because they knew that he's not going to be available for the entire season, so might as well look at somebody else. Whereas with LSG, I don't know if they were even aware of the fact that this was happening, or maybe they just didn't see him starting off in the playing 11, which again is a very interesting takeaway. I understand that you have Mitchell Marsh as well as Aiden Markram, but seeing the kind of performances that the overseas batters have put in, apart from, of course, Aiden Markram, who's doing really well, and Mitchell Marsh in bits and pieces, Nicholas Puran, as you can see, has been absolutely dismal. It's been something that's going on with him for a while, where across leagues he's just struggled to perform, to be honest. And so Josh Inglis coming in, he might just walk in straight away into that playing 11, and that might just rejig the combination completely. Now, he's someone who's played limited IPL, but he's done well there, has a really healthy strike rate as well. And we know what he can do, right? He's even shown glimpses of it in the last T20 World Cup, where Australia had a horrible time in the campaign, but Josh Inglis was one of the few batters who not only averaged decently around 28 odd, but was also striking really well, more importantly. And that's essentially all it is for LSG, right? If they can get that overseas batter in who can actually score more runs, it helps their combination. Because let's face it, they're a more overseas batting heavy side, especially in the top order. That's something that we've come to know LSG for. On the bowling front, they are doing a lot of things correctly. So if they can fix this, and if Josh Inglis is able to give 6 games this season, I think there might still be a small chance for them to possibly make it to the playoffs. But that's something that we'll see as time goes along.
Well, what we are seeing at this moment is a lot of comments in the comment section. And Ashwin, your voice sounds deeper. The people who are voice experts as well. They like you better with glasses. Former Afghanistan quick Shapur Zadran battles for his life in Delhi hospital. Former Afghanistan left arm fast bowler Shapur Zadran is suffering from HLH, a rare life threatening disease in which the immune system starts failing. Shapur, who will turn 39 in July, has an advanced form of HLH and is currently battling for life in the intensive care unit of a New Delhi hospital where he traveled to in January. Standing tall at 6'2 with a broad frame and distinctive flowing hair, Shapur was a presence on the cricket field when he ran into bowl. Today, though, he lies curled up in an ICU fighting stage 4 HLH, which predominantly occurs in children but can also inflict adults who are susceptible to infection or have had cancer. The patient suffers hyperinflammation, which is triggered by an overactive immune system leading to damages to the body's tissues, including the bone marrow, liver, spleen, and lymph nodes. Shapur, who played 80 internationals, 44 ODIs, and 36 T20Is for Afghanistan between 2009 and 2020, first fell unwell last October, and his younger brother, Ghamai Zadran, said. The doctors in Afghanistan asked him to go to India for treatment. Shapur got his India visa fast tracked after Rashid Khan and Afghanistan Cricket Board Chairman Mirwais Ashraf sought help from their contacts in India, Ghamai said. While Ashraf spoke to ICC Chairman Jay Shah, Rashid reached out to his contacts in the franchise circuit. He plays for Gujarat Titans, the IPL, and Mumbai Indians' own teams in several other leagues. Shapur reached India on January 18th and was admitted to the hospital.
Now, the reason I put this in is, of course, Shapur Zadran is one of the earliest heroes of Afghanistan, right? He's responsible for sort of the rise of Afghanistan cricket. If you remember watching the World Cups as a kid, at least for me, one of the earliest memories I have of Afghanistan cricket is this tall left arm pacer running into bowl to some of the Indian batters, right? Him, along with Daulat Zadran, these two used to open the bowling for Afghanistan. And it's something I was talking about with my friends as well yesterday, where he is one of the most iconic figures in Afghanistan cricket. Although he's played very limited number of games, his career has spanned essentially the part of Afghanistan cricket that came into the World Cups. And here's a bowler who I remember with his long hair running into bowl was consistently hitting 140, which really surprised us because that this was around the time when associate nations are not something we used to see often, and to see someone from an associate nation ball really good pace and actually trouble a few Indian batters sort of showed the kind of direction in which Afghanistan cricket was eventually going to go and is eventually in today. So just thoughts and prayers with him. Time will tell how it's going to go, but yeah, I think he's one of the most important figures. In fact, even AM Ghazanfar of Mumbai Indians recently had gone to the hospital to meet Shapur Zadran as well. So that just kind of highlights, and especially with someone like Rashid Khan also being involved, it highlights how important this man has been to Afghanistan cricket, and we'll pray for a speedy recovery.
Indeed. Moving on, Babar rediscovers his gears to score his fastest PSL century. There were signs early on that indicated a significant knock. Off his third ball, 145 km/h, and shaping away, Babar Azam carved Azari Joseph for a boundary between backward point and deep third. It was the shot of a man in pristine touch. PSL 2026 has been a prolific season for Babar. He has scored crucial runs for Peshawar Zalmi on all types of surface, a welcome change for a player who has been struggling, shackled by the weight of expectations and intense scrutiny. Early in the season, Pakistan's batting coach Hanif Malik had told media how there been so much criticism that it has had an impact on him. This PSL has brought out a different Babar, liberated but also in control. It's not yet that Babar who owned the crease and dictated terms to bowlers, but the change is visible. It is likely because as opener, he's back where he feels most comfortable and has thrived the most. All 12 of Babar's T20 centuries and almost 75% of his runs have been scored as an opener. Being sandwiched between Mohammad Haris and Kusal Mendes has allowed him to anchor rather than to be the aggressor. Mendes is in the form of his life. He is the leading run scorer in his maiden IPL, rather PSL, and his partnership with Babar is one of the biggest stories of the season. No pair has more runs than their 557 in 6 innings with 3 century stands. Their 191 run stand against Karachi Kings was the highest partnership in PSL history. The most striking feature has been Babar's willingness to support Mendes rather than take the center stage himself. Their partnership against Quetta Gladiators on Sunday night was no different. Babar took the backseat after Mendes smoked Jahandat Khan, Joseph, and Shortakil for boundaries early in the innings. Mendes scored 62% of the 135 they put on as Babar held his end. The Zalmi captain moved at his own pace in that stand, scoring 58 of 35 as Mendes blasted 84 of 44. Babar only put his innings in top gear, smashing his last 37 runs of 12 balls after Mendes got out at the start of the 15th over.
Now, for Pakistan fans and more importantly, Babar Azam fans, this is a very interesting moment because let's face it, Babar's always been class, right? He's always someone who you know that if given a good pitch or if given the right conditions, can accelerate, especially if he bats enough time. Something that was missing in the T20 World Cup was that they were playing him in the middle order because they thought that his best use case was to just play against the spinners and get runs against them, rotate strike against them, possibly go at 130s, 140s against the spinners in the middle overs. Whereas we know, and as clearly mentioned in the article as well, he's got the bulk of his runs opening the batting. And so this is a very interesting development. But more importantly, it gives a sort of template of how you can get the best out of Babar in the T20 format, which is you need an aggressor on the other end. You need maybe a couple of batters, maybe the second opener as well as the number three batter, who can take the attack to the opposition, because that means that Babar Azam can just sort of take his time, get into his innings, and later on you do see that he's capable of exploding. So it's not that he does not have that power game or that boundary game, but it's just that he's the kind of batter who likes to take his time, get set, and then get into his work.
Well, you don't take a lot of time. You're able to wrap up your answers within 3 minutes. But there's so many comments flooding in. Now, there's one that says, nice single refuses much. Well, moving on. Bangladesh's day out. Men. Nahid Rana's 5 wicket haul, followed by Tanzid Hassan's explosive half century, led Bangladesh to a 6 wicket win against New Zealand. The home side leveled the ODI series, setting up the decider in Chattogram on Thursday. It was a much needed contribution from the Bangladesh batters who had come under criticism after their 26-run loss in the first ODI. This time, the bowlers blew a hole through New Zealand's top and middle order, with Rana taking 5 for 32, his second 5 for in ODIs, before the batters got Bangladesh home in 35.3 overs. Now, women's. Sharman Akhtar's 86 helped Bangladesh beat Sri Lanka by 3 wickets in the first women's ODI in Rajshahi, which was hosting its first international match. It was also Bangladesh's first ever women's ODI win against Sri Lanka, though it wasn't without a hiccup. Bangladesh lost 4 wickets with just 1 run when they were just 7 runs away from victory. This happened after Sharman was outstumped in the 45th over for 86, having struck 13 fours in her 127 ball effort. This was a highest score against Sri Lanka, beating her previous best of 64 not out at the DY Patil Stadium in the World Cup last year. Sharman added 78 runs for the fourth wicket with Shorna Akhtar before Sri Lanka finally took a wicket after 36 overs. Then came the string of wickets. Off spinner Devme Bihanga took 2 wickets in the 46th over when both Shorna and Ritumoni were caught going for big hits. Rabia Khan also holed out in the deep, playing a poor shot as Bangladesh were 200 for 7 in the 47th over. Nahida Akhtar and Sultana Khatun then added the final 6 runs in nervy fashion. Sri Lanka were poor at that point as Malki Madara conceded a wide, followed by misfield and covers to concede the winning runs.
Now, for Bangladesh cricket that has gone through all of the ups and downs in all of this period, this is a nice day for them. They've won in both the men's as well as the women's. Albeit it is in bilateral series, it's still important for them to be able to get these wins, right? And if I look at the scorecard itself, in the men's case, New Zealand scored 198. They were all out, courtesy Nahid Rana's incredible performance. If you're someone who just genuinely enjoys really good tear away fast bowling, you have to look at that spell from Nahid Rana because it is top notch. He's rushing the batters, he's swinging the ball, he's seaming it both ways. It's just a lot of fun to watch, and this is one man that at least I would definitely keep an eye on and watch out for in the future, especially at World Cups. I want to see how he does against India because this guy bowls really good pace, and you can see the impact it's had on the New Zealand folks. Eventually, Bangladesh chasing that down quite comfortably, 199 for 4 in 35 overs. So, not much to add there. But even on the women's side, equally important win for them because it's the first time that the women were beating Sri Lanka women in ODIs, which is a very important achievement for them because the Bangladesh women's side have not had much luck. They've not been a really good side. There are a couple of really good players in the squad itself, but they're usually the kind of side that the moment they get under pressure crumble. That was something that was also visible in the game yesterday itself, where they nearly choked that win, but ultimately getting it in good fashion.
Well, Ashwin has joined the conversation, albeit in the chat section, so watch out for him. There are two Ashwins right now. Nonetheless, we move on to the meme where there were actually two Tilak Varmas that we got to see in the game against GT yesterday.
That is true. That is true. That is true. Thanks, Ashwin. Very funnily enough, he is right in front of me, asleep on the bed right now, which is hilarious.
Oh, can we?
But
Okay,
where's the
can
meme,
we
lads?
turn the
Can we get
camera?
the meme in? Awesome. That's the meme. My God, I'm fumbling a lot. But yeah, this is basically Tilak Varma's innings, right? This is exactly what I was talking about in the first news snippet, where before the strategic timeout, we were seeing the tamest version of Tilak Varma. He'd scored no boundary in 22 deliveries, and everyone was wondering what is happening. And clearly, I think during the strategic timeout, there must have been messaging around, just go for it, dude. It's been long enough. And I'm pretty sure Hardik Pandya would have been the insinuator for Tilak Varma to finally take off. Uh, and you can see the beast that is unleashed after the strategic timeout, right? Eventually, I just want to quickly check how many boundaries he hit because he's hit all of those boundaries in his last 23 balls. So Tilak Varma eventually ending at 101 not out of 45. He's hit 8 fours and 7 sixes. So that's 15 boundaries in the last 23 deliveries that he's faced. He's got 82 runs that he has scored alone, not the Mumbai Indians side, but Tilak Varma alone in the last 6 over period of that innings, which just throws into perspective the kind of freakish innings this was. We've seen a lot of innings of this caliber in the IPL, but nothing quite like this, where I think the closest I can think of that a batter has done something like this is Rahul Tewatia, probably, where he was
Hmm.
struggling in that first half of his batting and then he hits five sixes against
Against
Sheldon Cottrell, if
PBKs.
I'm not wrong. Yeah,
Yeah,
PVKS. Uh, and yeah,
got
like
you.
that's the latest I can remember where someone has done something of uh, sort of this accord, right? And so props to Tilak Varma. There was also a bit of scrutiny on him during the T20 World Cup. Then he went to the finishing role, did really well there, came into the Mumbai Indians. It was the same chatter again. Maybe he's struggling for form. And this is a trend with him where every time in his limited career so far where people have sort of uh, pointed out that maybe
Written
this
him
is
off,
a
yeah.
weakness for him. Yeah, he's just ended up coming out on top, which is great for Indian cricket because it clearly shows that he has that hunger. Of course, he has all of the tools to succeed. It's just about having that motivation and having that temperament to be able to do it time and again, which from an Indian point of view is really heartening. And for Mumbai Indians as well, this is very typical Mumbai Indian story where you know that they're going to lose in the start, then there's going to be one such performance or one such game, and that could completely turn their campaign around. But honestly, that's it. Yeah, Ashwin, just when you said I'm fluent, I fumbled so hard because I couldn't take the compliment. But yeah, that's it on the news, lads. I think we'll wrap it up here. I quickly need to check which game there is today in the
SRH
IPL.
versus DC.
Thank you, Mega. So SRH versus DC, uh, going to be an interesting fixture. I would still put DC ahead because SRH has its fair share of issues, but time will tell how things go. And that's it from us today at Wake Up Cricket, powered by Pavilion Picks. For all of the people who've actually tuned in today, thank you. Thanks for leaving your comments. Do it every day. That's a challenge to you. Can you get up at 8 a.m. IST and do it? That's the challenge. But yeah, that's it from us. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.